Welcome, everyone, to a call for judgment. Obviously, we know we've been under chemical attacks silently for quite a while now. I mean, really, for years, we've been under silent warfare from chemtrails all the way to the stuff that's in our food, like weed killer. But recently, the newest fad from the United States government, the CIA, has been to target trains, planes, and automobiles for the most part. I mean, we've seen planes flying into food factories. We've seen trains derailing, sending off chemical bombs that were actually admittedly set by our own government, which contaminated the water. And now we're seeing even trucks, and we've seen this multiple times. I covered months ago the truck explosions in Texas, in Nevada, that were leaking chemical gas. Well, now we had a truck literally go underneath the bridge in Philadelphia, right outside of Philadelphia on I-95, which is about 10 or 15 miles directly from the Delaware River, which is one of the largest water supplies in the country. The water supply in the Delaware River is supposedly, reaches 15 million people. It's water for New York City, New Jersey, Philadelphia, parts of Delaware. So not only for people to drink, but for dairy farms, nurseries, orchards. So they hit it in as many ways as they can, right? They can start causing droughts again for farmers by, doing geoengineering to make sure it doesn't rain and using chemical rain and all that other stuff when they do to make sure the crops don't grow. But this specific case you have to see to believe, because you can even hear the news report. They're like, we don't know what could have been in the truck. Nobody's suspicious about how a truck blows up a bridge. It's literally out of Dark Knight Rises. It's literally, if you remember that movie, Bane blows up all the bridges and keeps everybody trapped inside of Gotham City. That's what it looks like. Because literally the bridge collapsed, and this is going to take an unbelievable amount of time to fix. I wonder if they're going to trap people in Philadelphia. Of all the cities in the world to be trapped in, it is up there as probably one of the worst. It's one of my least favorites, that's for sure. So check out what happened, and then I'll show you the actual chemical bomb, because you'll see cars driving by, which is kind of funny footage. And you'll see, again, the black cloud of smoke. And of course, the Delaware River just happens to be right there. And 2 months ago, there was a chemical spill in the Delaware River, and they kind of tried to hush it. And it wasn't the one, that we all know about in Ohio that happened over by Philly. So let's start by taking a look at what happened on I-95.
And look at these dramatic pictures. On the left of your screen is a live look at the highway from Chopper 6. The collapse looks like a crater on the interstate. On the right, you're looking at video from earlier this morning. That is the fire from a tanker truck underneath the on-ramp, which appears to have caused the collapse. This is causing a major highway headache right before the return to work on Monday for so many people who rely on I-95. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson is live on the scene with the very latest. And Becca, this will take some time to repair. I know a news conference just happened.
It did, Nydia, and what we learned is that 95 is going to be inoperable for a very long time. And I can show you behind me, this fire is still burning, crews still working to put out some of this smoke. A big question right now is what is burning? What is inside that tanker truck that caught fire? It was underneath the 95 overpass over Cottman Avenue. That's a road. It's not a place where people typically park their cars. So where it caught fire, it caused 95 to collapse. Above it on the northbound side, those dramatic images you can see some of our video of the initial fire. It happened around just before 6:30 this morning on 95 northbound near Cottman Avenue. Of course, that tanker truck appeared to be underneath the roadway. That fire, of course, caused then the road to collapse above it. 95 as people were driving it this morning. One question we have at this point is what's the extent of the injuries here, if anyone were hurt? After this collapse, we saw videos of cars driving over as the road was starting to sink, and all of the smoke and all of that fire coming from underneath the roadway. Just terrifying images, thinking that people are on that road. Of course, I don't know if you can hear it, Nydia, some of the explosions that are happening. We did ask the fire chief about that. We think that some of the fuel lines that are underneath the road are popping right now. A very terrifying scene here, really. Hear from the fire battalion chief.
We did have a collapse of 95, okay, on the northbound side, okay, and the southbound side is compromised by heavy fire. It looked like we had a lot of heat and heavy fire underneath the underpass. Okay?
And we have Chopper live over the scene. You can see the road is quite literally collapsed. This is a state route, of course, 95, a road that so many people rely on just for commuting to get to and from work. A very busy road in 95 that is inoperable. Part of it on the ground, of course, it collapsed. It literally collapsed. Back out here live now, we are still hoping to learn more information, including, of course, if anyone were hurt in this incident. And we are worried about what is burning, what could have been inside that tanker truck. We did talk to the city about this. They said they are very concerned about the environmental impacts of this. There are agencies from all over the state coming out now, coordinating as the response to this continues. For now, live here near the collapse, Becca Hendrickson, Channel 6, Action News. Nydia?
Dramatic images and still so many questions. Becca, thank you.
So, I mean, you see that, and the news reporters who are supposed to give you news are just like, we don't know what could have been in there. We're trying to find out. Now, the Coast Guard, of course, is going to look into if the water's contaminated, but they never tell you the truth if the water's contaminated. The only people that tell you the truth are the people that are around the water who upload videos that get strikes or removed from Twitter or YouTube or anywhere else, Facebook, that show chemical bubbles sitting in the water, and then they tell you, oh, no, that's Russian disinformation. Somebody just made that up and put it up there, even though it's somebody literally like walking through their backyard, going to a river or a lake and showing you what's happening to the water. Now, the water is obviously just as important as food, but we live in a society where I don't even think that most of these liberal people know that you need water to live. Like, you can actually go a longer period of time, obviously, without food. I think you can go a couple weeks without food, 2 weeks maybe. You know, people fast all the time. But water is a necessity. It's a necessity to survive. So, of course, they're going to target the water more importantly to them than the food, right? But they're targeting both because this affects the watering of wildlife, of farms and orchards and all that type of stuff, and dairy farms, like I said earlier. So then we have this guy driving by. Look how dark the cloud is. But this sums up what we're living in. The guy sees this. The bridge is, even if he couldn't see the bridge collapsed, he's like, oh, it looks like there's a brush fire on 195. It's even more frightening that he's recording this while driving a car, which should be like a serious crime because you're putting other people at risk. But they'd like to tell you the only time other people are at risk is if you don't take a certain something in your body, then you're putting other people at risk. Not this guy driving, filming, but nonetheless, he's filming it, and he actually thinks this looks like a brush fire. Because, of course, we all know brush fires can occur on highways. Oh!
Jesus Christ. Right on 95 right now. What the hell is that? Oh, brush fire. Look at that. Brush fire on I-95.
If that doesn't sum up where we're at in society, right? No, sir, that's not a brush fire. It's the middle of a highway. If anything, it's an assault from our own government on our water supply, on our safety, among other things. Our food supply as well is included in that. And you might say, I think that this is you just going out of control, saying, these things don't happen. When I've shown you planes, trains, and automobiles, literally, have been setting off chemical bombs over and over and over again, specifically in 2023. This is the new thing that they're doing. They're keeping everyone distracted with if men can get pregnant or not while they're doing this, because of course they are. And if anyone brings it up, what does the White House do? They just ignore it. So the reason that you should be suspicious, okay, is not because accidents don't happen, things like this. First of all, it's very, very shady that the bridge would actually explode, and the proximity of this explosion to the water is what should make you suspicious. Why? Because 2 months ago, as you can see on your screen, there was a chemical spill where Philly was unable to switch their water sources, so people were drinking contaminated water, and what was affected? The Delaware River, right? And as you can see, Cotman Avenue is where the explosion occurred. You can see the guy driving right by the sign that said Cotman Avenue, and you can see the proximity of how close the water supply is for New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York City, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I said Pennsylvania. Yeah, Pennsylvania. So, you like to believe in coincidences, that's fine. I know the people who listen to my channel don't believe in coincidence because none of us were born yesterday. We were born quite a long period of time ago, but most of society is born yesterday. So every single thing that happens to them is a coincidence. These are the same people that believe certain groups of people are oppressed when they're really the people who are put on a pedestal in our society that can do and say whatever they want. They're the same people that think that these things are coincidences when you can see repetition and pattern, right? That's all you need to look at. That's all you need to look at. What's being targeted? Oh, multiple things targeting the Ohio River, a major water source, right? Now we're seeing the Delaware River being targeted, the Mississippi River. All of the water supply is being targeted. Why? He who controls the food controls the people, and he who controls the water controls the people, the food, the animals, controls all of it because they all depend on it to survive. So if they're going to do things like poison and put chemical bombs in the water supply at the same time as they're sun shielding, as we saw with the Canadian fires, which of course most of you probably saw the footage of how the fire is in a straight line. And there's actually footage, people have posted footage which they claim is fake news, but whatever. They claim everything that's truth is, of flames actually coming out of the helicopter, setting fire to it, which is pretty apparent at this point. So they sun shield, they dump chemicals in the air for people to breathe in. Those chemicals, then when it rains, when they allow it to rain, pours all those chemicals down onto the ground, which if you have well water, can affect your well water. If you're growing crops, it will affect your crops. If you're giving it to animals, it will affect the animals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's very easy to see what's happening here. But again, when you dumb down society, when you have society actually talking about and having discussions in Congress about what a man and a woman are, these are the things that they can get away with. Because they continue to dumb people down and distract people from what's actually occurring. We are under attack. We are under attack. And we're under attack from our own agencies in this country. And this is another problem with this. All the talk about the CIA, the DOJ, and the FBI, who they're all allowing for a reason to be criticized publicly because they want to keep people in the left-right paradigm, right? They want to keep people being like, oh, the Republicans want to clean house of the CIA because that's part of the agenda. That makes the liberals love the CIA, right? And support the CIA. Instead of saying, why are we talking about defunding the FBI, all these groups because they're targeting Donald Trump? Why don't we figure out why all of these so-called accidents are happening right around all these food supply and water supply chains that we have, that we use? No, they don't ask that, right? In Congress, what are they talking about? They would never bring something like this up. They'll just say, oh, let's talk about Pete Buttigieg and the Department of Transportation. What are they doing? How come they're not doing a better job? How come he's taking days off to father his baby? He's on maternity leave and he's a man. All that kind of nonsense. Nonsense. Well, our bodies are under physical assault. Not just our minds, our bodies are, right? The things that we need and depend on to survive, to feed and fuel ourselves. Now, all of us have faith, obviously, but the majority of people listen to my channel do. And we know that God will provide for us. We know that we rejoice in Christ and what God has freely given to us, and we know that we will suffer and be persecuted. But for people to be so unaware who don't have faith, to actually think that these things are mere coincidences is scary. To think that that's a brush fire in the middle of your highway shows you where the IQ of our society is at today, right? A brush fire in the middle of a highway. Yeah, what's next? You're going to have a brush fire in the middle of a pool? Is that what's going to happen? In the middle of the ocean? Is that next? There's a fire in the ocean. It's a brush fire. Oh, it's a brush. What is happening to society, ladies and gentlemen? So you can decide for yourself if you believe in coincidences or not. I don't cover these things, especially anymore. I used to cover them, and I used to jump on things quicker and not give it time to breathe and stuff like that. Where some of the events you could look at and say, well, that could have just been an accident, right? But when we see multiple trucks, right, happening with the chemical bombs, remember the one in Nevada where there's smoke that looked like, from Batman when the Joker sprayed the smoke on the crowd, right? Or the thing in Ohio, right, where the government came out and said, well, we blew up the chemical train. Like, what? Yeah, we blew it up. And then we, made everyone leave and we put in martial law, et cetera, et cetera. Well, then, that's not jumping to conclusions. Something like this isn't jumping into conclusions. Why? Because accidents do occur. But why is it that now we're seeing multiple things? This is 3 things actually affecting the Delaware River, because the Ohio thing could have affected the Delaware River as well, okay? But we know specifically there was a chemical spill there on March 30th around then. it was reported that there was a chemical spill, and they were allowing people to drink the water. They didn't stop them from drinking the water. Some people just went and the story was that they went and they bought all the water in the store because they didn't trust what they were hearing on TV, which is good. But at the same time, we allow it to occur. And I'm just as guilty, I guess, right? I try to make people aware, and that's all I try to do, and I get silenced. But you could sit there and you could say, you need to do more. Maybe I could and should do more, but I don't know what else to do at this point. I don't know how people don't see this. I don't understand how people even entertain these arguments about giving birth and talk about this stuff like wasting their time and don't realize that they're wasting their time. They think it's an actual serious debate. Like the guy Matt Walsh, who has a channel and uploads and stuff, and he's exposes all this stuff. Yeah, it's great to expose all this stuff, but why are we even entertaining that? Do we even need to have the debate? By entertaining it, we're just giving it legs and life while this type of stuff's occurring. And that's no knock on him or anyone else that discusses that stuff. I'd cover it too, obviously, from time to time, right? But these events, nobody talks about and goes, yeah, what about our water and food supply? How often do you hear any of these guys that don't get silenced, who are the alt-right, ever talk about an assault on our food and water supply chain? Not like supply chain, the grocery store, the shelves are empty, Ukraine, all that kind of crap. Oh my goodness, our government's blowing up things so they can put chemicals in the water. Our government's, sun shielding, starting wildfires, which, not even the one in Canada. Remember the one in California where they literally admitted that they were shooting fire out of the helicopters? And they were like, it's a new way to stop fires. To prevent forest fires by starting fires. Oh, that's what they told everybody. And people were just like, okay. No one's like, wait, what? You're starting a fire. How about we use the amount of money we pay in taxes to stop and prevent droughts, to make sure we can put these fires? There's obviously, with the technology we have, we could figure ways out to stop these things from occurring. But nobody thinks like that. They're just like, no, then the money needs to go to reparations. The money needs to go to parades that we need every June. It's insanity. So these are not mere coincidences. These are mere targets. These are targeted events. And you can believe whatever you want to believe, but at least use your brain and look at this and say, yeah, okay, well, I don't know for a fact. All right, maybe you don't know. Maybe I don't know for a fact, right? Because I'm not in the CIA, so I don't know exactly who's working and who's targeting these things. But I do see patterns. So when I see this, I say, let me see where the Delaware River is in contrast to I-95 and the explosion. Oh my goodness, it's 10 miles away, not even. Interesting. Oh, right, wasn't there a chemical spill there like a month ago? Oh, okay, right? Just conveniently while all the food shortages were happening, there was two specific ones that should make people just go, oh yeah, all right, right? One was the baby food formula thing. Everyone was going nuts about the baby food formula. They're like, oh yeah, we just never got around to opening it back up. They open it back up. What happens 2 days, 3 days later? Oh, it's closed again because there was a massive flood from a thunderstorm. Nobody was suspicious of that. Right? No, they're just like, oh, okay. And they just dropped the whole thing. Oh, doesn't showing you that they targeted it, that they want it shut down, that they don't want formula out there. They don't want to feed kids. They want to, eat them. Right? Or you could talk about the food supply chain. We're talking about all the supply chain shortages, and planes are flying into food manufacturing plants. Multiple. Come on, man. Come on. It's unbelievable. It truly is. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're doing well. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. God bless all of you as always and your families.